I've been recording for about 20 minutes and I was muted. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to our premiere of the Keys to the Surface stream. You're watching the first episode of our new D&D stream, 5th edition. We're gonna go through high magic, high politics, and high lore in this campaign. If you've already been watching, then you've already gotten a little bit of a glimpse of the plot that our players have gone through so far before the stream. If not, I bid you a warm welcome once again, and I really hope you're gonna have as good of a time as we did playing. The episodes are all pre-recorded, as is this little video. I'm coming to you from the day before the first stream, so unfortunately we won't be able to directly respond during the stream to your messages, but we will always be hanging out with you in the chat to supervise and of course to give you little insights, little commentary on the plot. We really look forward to sharing this with you, and for me personally, as the DM and basically builder of all of this, I want to thank everyone so far for the support and the love on Twitter and on Twitch. As it stands, we are at 40 followers on Twitch, which brings us so close to the magic 50 we need to get to apply to affiliate, and that's such a big number. Thank you so much, everyone, for the support. You can join our Discord by typing !Discord in the chat. You can find us on Twitter with the !Twitter. You can learn how to donate to the stream, should you be very affluent and giving, by the !Donate. And if you want to know what Chaotic Lawful Inc. stands for, you can go for !Clients. I'm here, basically, to explain my world to you a little, to give you a little campaign introduction into the world of Keys to the Surface. The players, by the way, still don't know why it's called Keys to the Surface, and pretty happy with that. Let me introduce you to Erolor. Lying on the continent named Luzra and flanked on 3 sides by smaller countries. To the east, so the right of the map, by the merchant kingdom Lorai, which is led by the merchant king, Cara Savoy. To the left, to the west, the mysterious, dark, and brooding Republic of Brightburn. We honestly don't know much about that yet. All we know is that they're probably sinister people. To the south lie the traveling tribes of Ritteras, more of a city-state than a real nation, but still respected as a border. Still, the Empire of Erolor takes up about 80% of the continent, clearly leading, and honestly, some people question why they haven't conquered the entire continent yet. But we've had centuries of peace under the rule of Emperor Drandamir Dalian and his ancestors, 4 generations of High Elven rulers, passed down from the first emperor, who was chosen by his peers after the cataclysmic events of the Dark War. The Dark War is what defines our calendar, our histories, our memory, and our magic in Erolor. Since the Dark War, it is no longer possible to cast a spell higher than 9th level, as magic was capped off by the gods to protect creation. Gods have also receded from living amongst men to living behind the divine veil, magically sealed by a veil of their own making, to never fully meddle in human affairs again. No one has heard from the gods, seen a dragon, or cast a spell above 9th level since the divine veil got sealed. At least, that's what popular opinion believes. The Greystars have already learned that either they are very special, or some of those things might not be true. Looking more inwardly towards the Empire, there are a few very central and important organizations and people that you should definitely keep in the back of your mind. The Empire is led by the Golden Congregation, a conglomerate of 3 highest archmages, the 3 highest priests of the Emperor, his Empress, some army commanders, and a budget keeper. They make basically every decision that's somehow important to the Empire and how it goes, working very hard to make sure that the Empire stays prosperous, peaceful, and controlled. Somewhat independent, but also interconnected, is the Crystal Conclave, led by 9 archmages that each have their own school of magic, such as divination, necromancy, and the domains, like diplomacy, innovation, erudition. They also lead the Crystal Campus, which is their university where various magic users can come to get their magical training. Magic flows through everything in Erolor, its name officially being Ara. It is believed that Ara is both the life force and magic of the universe, and that everything once originated in the perfect chaos of Ara. That means that everyone, even your common farmer, is flown through with magic. Those that have a character class, like Barbarian, Sorcerer, simply know better how to control it to gain these fantastical abilities with their bodies that other people with less control or affinity couldn't do. Hence why the Crystal Campus teaches not only wizards, but also sorcerers, clerics, paladins, and other magic users. Warlocks are exceedingly rare, most people believing that they don't have a true affinity to Ara, but have stolen power. Because of their position and durability in the Dark War, elves and dwarves often hold powerful positions, but you will definitely see humans, halflings, and other origins in positions of power. In fact, most leadership of the Empire is some kind of deviating race from elves and dwarves. This capital city is the shining jewel of the Empire, crowned off by a beautiful, tall palace called the Shimmerstead, a construction made of crystalline, non-see-through glass. Oneris sits against a mountain ridge, commanding, imposing, and impressive. The party, who have chosen for themselves the name the Greystars, are currently on their way to the southern part of the Empire. The southwest, to be precise. They are on a quest given to them through the Genesis Guild, the Adventurers League, if you will, by ally, friend, known dragon to the party, Grayson Domaril. They've been promised a high reward, and they get to keep all the loot that they find on this mission. 2 events they'll definitely want to make it back in time for are the Crystal Conclave Ball that they've been invited, then uninvited, then invited to. It's complicated. It's a veritable who's who of important people, and sort of a trial run for the second important event, the marriage of Princess Lissa May Delian of the Empire and Prince Callum Savoy of Lorai. This alliance, forged for power, politics, and so that the Erolorian line wouldn't pass to a woman, is sure to be the marriage of the year, as it is coming up in a few months' time. The Greystars, now having found themselves in a way of being a personal friend to both the prince and the princess, will surely be invited. But I don't want to spoil it all for you. There's plenty more to explore in this complicated but magical world of Erolor as the Greystars go and set out on a new journey that you're about to watch. Also, up next, just keep watching, the character introductions, where you'll meet the current cast of the Greystars, and then you'll get to see them play. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy. Definitely do tell us what you're thinking, and come and hang out with us in the comments as I hand the word off to narrator voice me and narrator voice novelist. So let's do it all again, baby! Ugh. How can I be rare daylight Lorai when the daylight is fading? I'm hoarse from talking so much. Jasmine is the quiet but capable cleric of the Greystars. She follows the goddess of strategy, competition, and fire, Fiari. She trains alongside the other followers of her goddess to become part of the Blazing Battalion, the elite fighting force of female and non-binary Amazonian warriors that represent the flaming sword on the battlefield. She joined the temple after her parents died, when she had no one else to turn to. With an ingrained love for fire and need for guidance, she was quickly drawn into Fiari's service. Jasmine has been training at the temple for 8 years now, and she's almost there. One of the last tasks she has to do to finish her training is to go out into the world with an adventuring party and prove herself worthy. Jasmine heard about the Greystars from Grayson, a good friend of hers. she decided that they would be the perfect company and applied to join them. While waiting for the party to return from Lorai, she met Ren. They quickly became friends, and they tell each other almost everything, or at least a lot. In the end, the party graciously accepted them into their midst, making Jasmine and Rin the newest members of their troupe. Even still, Jasmine's best friend is Elan, a fellow cleric of Fieri. Mira and Grawl seem to have the misconception that they're a thing, but Jasmine is really not that interested in them. Elan is more like a sibling to her than she'd like to admit. The acolytes of Fieri's temple tend to be rather vocal and are known to have a temper, usually taking up roles of leadership. Jasmine is a bit different in that sense. She prefers a background role where she doesn't call too much attention to herself. The fact that Mira usually takes charge suits her just fine, though she is realizing that in order to prove herself to Fieri, she might have to take things into her own hands sometimes. Jasmine wants to improve her career and become a better person and a better cleric. She tries to ignore all outside distractions, but that's proving to be harder than she thought with this rowdy bunch of Greystars. They did make quite the interesting first impressions. Mira seemed like a pretty cool, distant person at first, while Grawl was quite scary and a bit obtuse. And Kaskin, well, he's Kaskin. He dragged her into one of his strange adventures out of nowhere one night, which she recognized as the effort it was to include her. So Jasmine is a bit more likely to believe his tall tales than the other party members tend to be. Within the party, within her temple, within herself, she's sure she'll find her place. Eventually. Jasmine Flanagan, Light Cleric, Spark of the Greystars.
While her stature, radiant smile and dark blue eyes set her apart in a crowd, it'd be foolish to set Mira aside as just a pretty woman. She has served on Malorian ships as a full-fledged navigator and later turned to herbalism in Erolor's capital city Onaris, often providing care to those of lesser means. It was at this time that a stormy temper and unflinching moral compass drove her into contact with those individuals that would later form the Greystars. A sorceress with a connection to the wind and sea, she has an unquenchable care for her companions, because a crew without cohesion is easy prey for the tides of fortune. Her first name was derived from an embroidered dark blue handkerchief, and she was thus named Mira Dawn, sharing the collective last name to signify Malorian orphans. Her youth was spent in the Blessed Sea Orphanage, near the coast. The small harbour town instilled a love for music and the sea in her and her childhood companions, naming themselves the Shanties. While crossing the sea during their assignment to escort Lismay Delian to Lorai, the weather turned. Mira scaled the mast, hoping to connect to the storm. It was there and then that she communed with Syrah and received Syndra's divine mark. Shaken, and with an influx of new knowledge and faith, Mira retreated below deck to reflect. After a mission went awry, the Merchant King deprived her of her last name, but not before Lismay and Callum Savoy transferred her citizenship to the Empire. Their return trip brought them by the orphanage, where Mother Superior Sumina revealed that Mira had not been a foundling when she was taken in. Her parents had left her a message and a gift which uncovered a hidden truth. She wasn't human, but Asimar. Her family fugitives. Her last name, Var Dunaveld. She opted to carry the last name Anrun, the Elvish word for dawn. Later, back in Onaris, a crisis of faith saw Mira in Tempest Temple where her fervent prayer was answered. A voice, assumed to be Syndra, spoke to her about the sacrifice she made towards the end of the Dark War, and that the healing she had bestowed had not only been on the righteous armies, and that some may still live. There, Mira decided not to choose sides in future conflict, but rather be a fulcrum, whatever the cost. She was called Erolor, an Aasimar of Syndra's line. Mira var Duneveld, Storm Sorceress, voice of the Greystars.
It won't escape your notice that Kaskin's art style sticks out a little. That's because at the time of the commissions, a new character was introduced by this particular player. But more of that later. Kaskin Mursiri is a man of many talents, or so he claims. He hails originally from a small town near Haven's Cross. Growing up there was peaceful, organized, and rather boring. Young Kaskin sought the finer things in life, a trusty canine companion and the best food he could possibly make. Unsurprisingly, he soon ended up running a restaurant, serving dishes that were experimental but often mind-blowingly good. While his talent for cooking made up for quite a bit, Kaskin's flighty personality and full focus on the food did not pair well with running a financially stable business. After a fight with his third wife, second woman, third marriage, he took a long walk by himself to air his frustrations. He stumbled upon a small, empty cave on that walk. The peculiar thing about it was that it was magically lit, but showed no signs of habitation or other spellcraft. Looking around the inside, Kaskin found a trapdoor, and underneath it, a book bound in black leather, beckoning for his touch. Ever the curious one, he reached out for it, and died. Yes, died. It took him a while to realize this, seeing as he got better. He returned to the cave as soon as he could, but the light, trapdoor, and book were all gone, leaving no trace behind. Kaskin soon found he had lost the need to eat, sleep, or breathe. Instead, he could communicate telepathically and started to receive visions of other lives that gave him a different skill each time. Avoiding his debt and furious wife, he immediately set out to Oneris to track down the strange book that did this to him from a more central location. There, he found the Greystars, who accepted him into their troop and opened up plenty of doors for him. He never quite shared his reasons, at least not in a way they accepted, often leading them to believe he was both chaotic and enigmatic. He found hints of the book, mostly in his own memories as they journeyed, visions getting clearer, more specific, and showing a longer history of souls that encountered it each time. Just like the rest, he was eventually bothered by encounters with the divine, choosing not to ever engage fully with them. Steadfast but impulsive, dark but light-hearted, honest but unclear. Kaskin's dualities are always sure to give the Greystars a run for their money. Kaskin Mursiri, revived rogue, wildcard of the Greystars.
Graal Redtusk, formerly a Lycan bloodhunter, now a ball-totem barbarian. He hails from the desert on the western edge of the Empire, but spent his adolescent years in the capital city of Oneris. A hired muscle for a branch of one of the thieves' guilds, his liaison going by the name of Quill. After the Greystars reached Lorai, the crown princess of the Empire in tow, Graal made a critical mistake. He messed up during a mission from the treacherous merchant king of Lorai, Karis Savoy. When time came to kill the wacky kobold assassin sent to accompany them, Graal intervened. An act of misplaced mercy that nearly cost the Greystars, the nobles they were trying to protect, and the crown princess their lives. In the aftermath, Graal received a vision. He would later assume the sender to be a treasonous god, Kudor the Ruiner. Kudor offered Graal power should he break the shackles binding him, which the dark voice implied were his uncharacteristically soft attachments to his companions. Graal accepted the offer, blaming his own weakness for his inability to achieve his goals. In return, he gained a new, more monstrous lycanthrope form, while simultaneously being bound to never speak of his vision. On the way back home, Graal came to regret his decision, nearly losing control after a surprising confession from friend of the party, Rin Silveranth. Graal fled, running across rooftops until he was finally able to shift back. Upon returning to the party, he found that Rin, ever his supporter, had visited Galea's temple in the meantime. She had asked the goddess of wilderness and compassion to help him. In the process, something was changed inside of Rin, bestowing her with a new, bestial aspect. In the next temple to Galea the party encountered, Graal visited the altar and directly challenged the goddess, demanding she revert this curse placed upon Rin. Instead, he found himself pulled into another vision. Galea showed him a glimpse of the terrible end he and his companions could meet, things that would come to pass if he kept pursuing this closely held ambition for revenge against those who had wronged him in the past. Graal agreed to forsake these plans after Galea sent him a second vision, with an offer of a fresh start. Awakening, he found a mark of Galea emblazoned on his chest, and his ability shifted, from hard to control lycanthropy to using his rage for good. But that wasn't the last he heard of Kudor. The final choice yet to be made. Graal Red Tusk, Totem Barbarian, Shield of the Greystars.